Well, folks, here we are again. I don't know. I possibly could have waited until I got back home to start recording this. You know what? In fact, maybe I might just adjust where exactly I have my phone at, and then I'll just like drive back. Because when I bite into this food, then I realize, oh damn, I'm thirsty. Or it's just like it's fresh out of the kitchen type food, and the heat kind of just dries off my mouth right away. But trying to eat healthy. I've been experiencing, I guess what would be termed as epigastric pain. Really kind of concerning for me, because I've tried to live healthy. I've been making adjustments in my diet. Sometimes I honestly do fall off the diet, and maybe I'm not as like strict with the whole low carb thing as I probably should be. Same thing when it comes to the whole red meat deal. Trying to cut that out of my life, because I know that has a lot of bad effects itself, and it's one of the things that I think if you do keto or you do low carb and you kind of go overboard with that, that's where a lot of that kind of gets like it's bad rap. Let me see if I can adjust this so that I can drive safely while also let's see about that. What is it? That's this blocking that. Yeah. Well, let's see. It kind of seemed a little wonky or whatever. But anywho, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, going overboard on red meat, anything with a lot of grease or fat, that can, I think that's what probably leads, to a lot of the bad effects that folks might get if they go low carb or keto. Classic clogging up your arteries with grease, or getting too many triglycerides, leading to, probably blood sugar spikes and pancreatitis and all that kind of stuff. And that's really concerning for me, because anybody who's followed news recently over the last year and a half, my mom passed away from pancreatic cancer, and I know that probably the biggest factor for her was her drinking. She was a raging alcoholic, and my dad was very much an enabler in that. Even if my sister and I tried to stop her from drinking, my dad would go behind her back and buy her more booze. And since he had the income, being an engineer, he was able to supply that. So, but there's many causes to pancreatitis, which itself can be or is a precursor or a risk factor for pancreatic cancer, and it's really concerning to me that I'm getting this right now. I've been one of those folks who's tried to hack it and do preventative medicine and preventative measures to not get sick, because I was raised with this mentality of I can't afford to. I gotta, be the man and work and be a functioning member of society and get that degree and get that job and make that money and all that. And so I tried to do everything preventative-wise, but yeah, that's concerning. Used to be getting pain in the lower right abdomen, and I thought that was possibly a hernia. That's mostly gone away apparently. I think once I started running and perhaps doing some stretches, it might have been just pulled muscle down there. Maybe I need to get up and just be more active. Definitely need to be more strict on my diet, and need to reach out to my doctor, because I think the last year I said I had failed to get my the prescription I had for this fungal infection. Didn't get it sent over to the right pharmacy, and that was a month ago. And just all the stuff that's happened recently, I just haven't been able to get to where I need to get to get everything that I needed. Those are seemingly minor issues, but knowing myself, it's a real mental hurdle to overcome and admit that I got some issues I need things looked into or whatever. The doctor's looking at my age, my blood pressure, and saying you need to get your blood drawn and get blood tests done, and me being a afraid of like what they're gonna find, if they find anything. Me wanting to not like have certain things on my record because if I can just kind of hack it, then the possibilities of what I can do with my life remain wider. But at the same time, it's kind of like you're playing with fire, taking the risk that you could just end up dead because you didn't get the treatment you needed because you didn't want to have certain things done, have certain things revealed, I guess. But it sort of redirects my focus, I guess, because last couple of videos, and it's still in my mind, but I still fret over what happened in those last years of undergrad and the life that I think I could have had, or that I either was denied or denied myself, or things that it was never going to happen, but I kind of got a glimpse of that, what life I was denied. And it's almost like when I started having these issues, it's kind of like as if saying I don't have the right to complain or so, because it's sort of like you think life is bad now. Well, the universe, God, whatever, will make life worse to whatever. I don't know. Force you to stop complaining or something. I don't know, or punish you for complaining. I don't know. A lot of times I think that the reason a lot of that stuff in undergrad didn't work out with that girl, or with the girl I was, initially with, a lot of it had to do with, there were decisions I made, in life that were made based off of poor information, poor thinking, poor planning, etc. But I don't know, it seems like a lot of things are just out of my control. I developed all sorts of hang-ups and proclivities because of the abuse I had to suffer at the hands of my parents and, my sister and, a POS cousin, which led me to developing, certain personality traits, which then led me to not being the best version of myself that I could have, would have, should have been at that point in time, such that I would have been able to gel with, those people and with that girl, and then have the life that I, wanted to have. And it really grinds my gears, and it cuts me pretty deeply just to see that, because, you kind of imagine them getting to have all the things that you're building yourself up to, but because your family, wanted to sabotage you, wanted to F you over, and the people around you didn't want you to succeed for whatever dumb reason. And I'm not going to say that I was perfect or anything, but it just does seem like being forced to wake up into a world that was, demolished and turned into a husk of its former self by the generation or generations that came before you, and all the while having to deal with, seeing other people who were set up to succeed by their families succeed, and having to also deal with your parents' resentment that you couldn't pull magic out of thin air and make everything just awesome because they felt they were entitled to the things that would result from your succeeding, your overcoming the hurdles they created for you. And it really does bring forth the resentment, the anger I have against my parents, because my dad in particular, he doesn't want to own up to how much he's screwed things up, and there's more things than I'm finding out about his family and who he really was when he was younger, and the kinds of dynamics that were at work, because that finally they tend to hide things. It's like the keeping up appearances, keeping up with the Joneses. Once somebody is passed on, you're not allowed apparently to speak on what they did that was evil or screwed up or wrong, even if it's demolished your life, caused you all sorts of problems and issues and whatnot. And yeah, it's like they're more concerned about what people think of them than doing what's right. And I'm sure there's a cultural aspect to it, and I feel like I'm probably repeating myself, from past videos. I swear I probably covered this. It's like almost like a feature of my life that these sorts of things, it's not like it's just one time I discuss it, or one time I think about it, or one time I confront it or deal with it or whatever, and then it's like, okay, moving on to the next thing. So it's like a cyclic process. But there's a cultural aspect to it, because over there it's more about shame as opposed to guilt. And I don't know what this guy's trying to do. He's like literally not. Sorry, I was driving through this intersection, and we have green, so I'm allowed to go. But then there's this like homeless guy with 2 or 3 shopping carts full of stuff, and he's just like pulling it, trying to go across the intersection, when it's like, hey, like you don't even have like the walk sign on. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for them to give the walk sign when their car is coming in that direction. People are going to get hit. But I don't know. I guess that's another example of just like maybe like human stupidity or human irrationality right in front of my eyes. But yeah, they're more concerned about shame than guilt. They're more concerned about, well, if we keep up appearances and people think we're good, then we're good. It's not about like the fact that there's, even in that culture, even in that religion, there's still a belief that God sees everything, and He knows what's really in your heart and what you've really done, and if He wants to, He can expose you, and He can rain justice upon you and that sort of thing. Like they don't take that into consideration. And my dad doesn't want to own up to all the screwed up things he's done to his kids. He did to his wife, that his wife did to him, and did to their kids, and the effects of the decisions they made, and how much in reality like he actually owes to his kids as sort of payback. Because like I think I did discuss this with my uncle at one point. Like when it comes down to it, if you're a functioning adult and you're like working, you're making your own money, whatever it is that you do, like, yeah, technically speaking, after taxes and whatnot, like that is your money, and you technically speaking can do with it whatever the heck you want to. But actions have consequences, and not only if you waste 30 years making more cold hard cash than most people ever see in multiple lifetimes, not only do you not have the right to expect your kids or your family to jump in to take care of you in your old age, and you basically wasted your life living that high roller lifestyle, so to speak, gambling away one fortune after the next, or one potential fortune after the next, like life-changing money, family-changing money, intergenerational wealth-building money. Not only are you not entitled to be taken care of, but you're also not entitled to being pitied. And furthermore, if you're going to do that, at the very least, get the heck out of your kids' way. And if you're not gonna get out of their way, then at least be a force for good when it comes to them developing into fully functioning adults themselves who can support themselves. And my parents didn't do that. I know it's very much like a, yep, I've heard that, yeah, that's my family too kind of a deal, particularly when it comes to, I think, anybody born after that initial generation that was, born after World War II, in the United States in particular. But, you have similar cases in other countries, which is really, even if you go to some third world countries, it's weird how that still translates over, third world, or, that's kind of an archaic term, I guess, developing country. even in these developing countries, you'll find these, cases of like, yeah, my parents, they somehow were able to make more money than, my grandparents or great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, and they wasted it all, and, they crippled their kids, they treated their kids as their retirement fund, they, treated their kids like trash, they abused them, they damaged their development into like fully functioning adults, etc., etc. But now they think that those kids should turn around and help them out, and they want to cry about why don't my kids visit me? Why don't my kids visit me? And it's like or why don't they do stuff for me? Or they will deny that their kids ever did anything for them, and it's the kind of stuff that really has made me so freaking angry, because it's kind of like, well, what right do they have to do that? What right do they have to, I'm parked back by my house, to, not only live like that, but make, all sorts of threats against me, and like, and get in the way of my development. It's like, if you don't want to leave anything behind for your kids, fine. If you want to repackage that as, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't a bunch of insufferable brats, or that you were functioning or self-sufficient or whatever the hell, like whatever the hell BS they try and pull later on, and and use as sort of a cover for the fact that they just effed around. Fine, but don't also cripple your kids. And maybe this is just a function of mental illness in my family, whether it's narcissism or BPD, or it's just it's like bipolar disorder or manic depressive or something of that nature. But I don't know. It really screws you up as a person, because I'm apparently the one person in the family who's been able to sort of shoulder on through the effects of my mother's death, to a certain extent, at least in some sense, like getting my education sorted out, at least, in the process of doing that, and at the point where basically a shoe-in for graduate school, but also struggling to find a job again. Maybe not as much as some others. The effects of certain workings are coming through, so maybe that'll change. But it's really depressing and infuriating. And I think why it's so illustrated when I talk about what happened in undergrad is that, like, I think what I envisioned with that girl was the ultimate escape. That if I was somehow able to get with her and build the kind of life that I had wanted at that point in time, that it would have been like, I broke out, I broke the cycle, I broke free, I won, I bent the universe to my will, I got my parents to change their minds, I got things sorted out, blah blah blah, like it would have been the ultimate victory, at least as I envisioned it at that point in time. I don't even know what that really looks like at this point in time, being 38 and inexperienced in the sexual department, with the particular manner that my orientation would have me, given that I'm a straight man, in other words, with women, and still a pretty significant amount of debt, having all these health problems creeping up, because I have like pain in my hands and the fungal infection, I got this epigastric pain and high blood pressure, hair has fallen out. I mean, I used to have a full head of hair, like I think 14 years ago? Yeah, when I was 24, I had a full head of hair, actually. Kind of strange to think of myself nowadays as having that, you know, like what that would look like if I had a full head of hair. A lot of it just does boil down to, you know, you can just say life's not fair, but like, I don't know, like that saying also kind of brings with it, or expression brings with it, a feeling of like defeatedness and, you know, black-pilledness, or just giving up. And it's like, that's not me. Like, I want to fight, but I also want to win. I don't want to just fight for the sake of fighting. I don't want to fight just to make a statement, you know. I want to fight for survival. I want to fight for victory, you know. But then again, I don't really know what that looks like at this point, because it seems like all the things that I would have wanted have already been, you know, taken from me. And all the conditions of victory have already been attained by somebody else, you know. And man, finding out they're getting married, that just, I don't know, I don't know. That's just really, I mean, as if I haven't had enough punches to the gut, so to speak, like that's really something other than that. But handful of good things I can say, and I don't know if like losing weight is a good sign of things, but like I dropped below 185. I think it was, I measured myself in the morning yesterday, and I, you know, in ramping up my physical exercise, I've been going jogging. I really do need to get upper body strength. That's something that I've always been lacking in, and it's made me like sort of a target for a lot of bullies, both within my family, like my father, as well as bullies from outside my family, you know. People think they can just overpower me and then do whatever they want to do with me or do to me. But yeah, I got down to like 183.6. I mean, my dream weight would probably be like 165 to 170, but that would be assuming that, you know, I was, you know, cut, like that I, you know, it looked like I had a six-pack and I had muscles and that sort of thing, not just like skin and bones, you know. Don't want to end up, you know, that sort of state. Also, finally getting caught up on classes, because I don't have that POS job taking up my time and stressing me the heck out and whatnot. Which, I guess ironically enough, that does qualify me for EDDUI, which I need to apply for either today or tomorrow. But once I get caught up with classes, and, you know, I'll just start on Monday, really like reaching out to recruiters and applying like mad. Probably, I mean, it'll probably do me some good to start doing this stuff over the weekend as well. So I'm making some progress in that department, but it's like, I don't know. It seems like everything's just like too little, too late, and kind of like, what's the point? And, you know, knowing the people I have to deal with in my family, there's going to be like even more pain involved, you know, if that house in my grandparents', you know, estate is lost. Because my dad loves to, he loves to gloat over me. I've always noticed that. I'm kind of like going all over the place, but there's just a lot of stuff that I haven't really talked about. He does love to gloat over me. He's a bully. He's a bully. He's a domineering bully, and he loves to gloat over me when I fail at something, especially something that I've been really working at for a long time, or I've been really struggling for, or something that's really emotionally important to me, or something that if I succeeded at it, it would make me, you know, obviously a better man than him. Like, if I ever own a house, particularly that house, and it's all paid off, and I, you know, saved the day, it's going to be really like sticking it in his craw, because, you know, he will have failed to do that himself. Like, and it's insane how much money he has made over the last 30 to 40 years, barring a few times of being unemployed. and then how much he wasted on that, and all the while acting like such an arrogant little prick. You know, that he was better than everybody else, smarter than everybody else. Everybody else was a friggin' idiot. He had all the answers. He had it all figured out. And then, you know, similar to how with, you know, my mom getting cancer and passing away. Well, you didn't have the answers for that, did you, Dad? You didn't have the solution for that, did you? You were part of the problem that caused it. You know, and then the house that they live in right now, I mean, they're basically paying rent. $1,900 a month. The house was worth about $320K, I think. Maybe $340K when it was air quotes bought. And it really, this is something that really pisses me off with people when they like say, oh, we bought the house, we got the house. And it's like, well, did you pay for it with cash? Is it, you know, is it freehold? You know, and the free and clear, no encumbrances, no liens. Well, no, we had to take out a mortgage. It's like, well, technically speaking, while your names might be on the deed for the house, you don't really own it. Owning in the free and clear, my understanding is you don't got any liens against it, you don't have any encumbrances, everything's paid off. You know, you got your property taxes and maintenance covered. You know, barring some litigation, barring some, you know, effery where you screw around and had to take out a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, you know, barring something like that, in that case, that would be, you know, you owning the house. But the house that they live in, it's like, you know, it was worth between, like, let's say 300 and 340K back 24 years ago. And I think that would be like about 3 times what the gross income that my, you know, dad was pulling in would be. And he's gone up, you know, at least 10, 20K since then, barring some, you know, points of unemployment. Also, there was a lot of, you know, there was a lot of other things going on that were, you know, this is where I get into like the effery, the things that were going on weren't just going on. They were caused by their own piss poor decisions. But he was making that kind of money, didn't pay off the house, ended up at some point in time pulling money out of the house. And, you know, again, like, given that, you know, I'm talking about someone who comes from a background where they care more about shame and public perception, you know, he's never told me the full details. Maybe my sister has figured out some things. And side note, like, I hate when she tries to act like she's so freaking knowledgeable and has such authority and whatnot at her age, you know, because she's in her mid-30s, and it's the whole, I don't know where, well, actually, I kind of do get where these women get that kind of arrogance, because, you know, they've been having sunshine blown up their, you know, patutskis since the day they were born, told how amazing and wonderful they are at every age. You know, it doesn't matter what circumstances. But my dad pulled money out of the house, and I kind of do feel foolish at times for believing what I found out were lies later on, even though I found these out before, you know, my sister found them out. But pulled money out of the house, and then I think he had to use that for something other than the house. I don't know if it was a home equity line of credit or if it was just a straight up home equity loan. Probably a line of credit from the sounds of things, because my mom effing around with alcohol and her medication, my sister effing around being, by the standards of the culture my dad, and standards of the culture and time my dad came from, being promiscuous, you know, and screwing around with alcohol and drugs as well. Both of them racking up massive medical bills, which at certain points in time the insurance company didn't want to cover, because it was like, you know, it's like they were in the hospital too many times for too long, for, you know, too many different reasons or instances. And then my dad having to pay for that and pay for other things with that, you know, money he pulled out of the house. I think that's probably why he has that tax lien. And I know if the topic comes out, my sister, she'll act like she already figured it out and she already knew it and blah blah blah. And I already knew that was BS. So if he tells anything, well, I'm 5 steps ahead of you on that. Blah blah blah. And it's like, no, you're not. You're a fucking loser and an idiot. Pardon my French. That, and then it's this talk of estate planning for him, like where he's not doing it. God, I hate being gaslit. I hate being led on. I think that's so much of what just like has pissed me off with just my interactions with so many people. It's like, when you know that you got a coworker who's a homosexual who's sexually harassing you, and they're trying to play it off like you're a victim for getting pissed off about that and speaking up and defending yourself, and they're just, God, you wanna like lash out at them, because nothing short of that will seem to like snap them out of it. When you got a parent who's a narcissist basically, or has those traits, and that when he dies, all that crap is gonna fall into your freaking shoulders, and like, I guess that's when I realized, like, I don't like my dad. I don't really love him. He's screwed me over more times than he's done good things for me in reality. And if he's done any good things for me, there was some sort of self-serving aspect to it. At the very least, in terms of like reputation, like, gotta make sure that my kids succeed in certain things, because when the relatives ask, I gotta be able to tell them that, oh yeah, my family's doing great, or trying to get me employed somewhere because he knows that if I make that money, then he'll have access to it, or that he won't have to shoulder certain things. But him gaslighting me about, oh yeah, I'm talking, and sometimes he like really like drops the ball and gives away that he's like actually just effing around, because he'll bring up something that's completely unfreaking related to whatever the frack he was supposed to be talking about. Like, oh, he supposedly goes and talks to an estate attorney. They give him a list of things he needs to get together. He drags his ass, basically doesn't do anything about that, doesn't have the information anywhere. And then in that conversation where he's telling me he did all this stuff, he has to bring up like the case of my grandparents, probate, and then talking about, well, the attorney there should actually be the one in charge of that, not the other person. And it's like, when claiming he asked the attorney, and I'm just like, it's a game to him. Everything is a freaking game to him. And it's a game to my sister as well, because she knows that, in the end, like, what? Her upkeep will be dumped onto me, or it'll be dumped onto her fiance who she's wanting to get married to now. And it's just like, I don't know. I get it that life isn't fair, and you can probably sum up all my rants under that, expression, life isn't fair. But because I'm a man, I don't really have that luxury of just, oh, life isn't fair, and I'm just gonna, give up and, expect somebody else to step in and, face that down on my account and, fix everything up for me. That's not, in the works for me. That's not, how things get to operate for me. So I don't know. That's my state of mind right now, and there's just a lot of things that are really like infuriating me and making me incredibly depressed and anxious, and yeah, and and getting to see other people succeed because their families, because their families wanted them to succeed. Just how much stuff is out of your control, And I remember, another instance when it's back during undergrad, and I was talking to some other dude, and he was talking about that girl, and he was saying like, oh, how she went around telling everybody that she already had some, I guess some 3-year electrical engineering degree from like France, and her family was like, and she basically had a job already lined up, and how her family told her, don't worry, you don't actually have to work, just keep going to school, get more education, get an advanced degree, we'll take care of it, we'll pay for everything. Whether or not that was 100% true, I mean, I think it was, honestly, because I know how all those families operate. That, and I mean, she did go around telling everybody that she was getting hired by BMW, which turned out to be a bunch of BS, but, it's sort of like, there's enough truth there that it's like, wow, like, and these are the people who would tell you that they're so oppressed and the world's out to get them just because, I don't know, like, they thought they were going to get a 50K, increase in their income, but they only got 35K increase, or I don't know, the Home Depot they went to get the, their paint mixed. It was off by 1 or 2 shades, and blue for like the paint they wanted to paint their the living room in their new house, or I don't know, they, the guy they got with, it's a girl complaining, the guy they got with, because they love drama and they want to complain about things, so they'll go on complaining about like something about him, and when it's clearly a case of like whatever he has is actually good enough for you. You just want to complain to get attention. Or a guy complaining about how, I don't know, like they didn't put enough ranch sauce on his chicken sandwich or something like that, and it's like, hey, they're, not to sound cliche, but there are plenty of people starving in this world. Or a guy complaining about how a girl went into a certain, sex act on him, and it's like, yeah, you have a girlfriend, you have a fiance, you have a wife, like. But, and like a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff is just like life not making sense. That's another thing, it's kind of like all the stuff I go ranting on about that girl and that guy, it's like, you know what, it's because she just thought he was hot, and she still thinks that he's hot, and now it's also maybe he makes enough money, which just seems like kind of disgusting, but that's how it is a lot of times. He had blonde hair she'd never seen before. He had blue eyes she'd never seen before, and he had any interest in her for some reason, and she just couldn't get enough of that. But then wanted to pretend like it's something idealistic. And it's kind of like in a life and adulthood, you have to somehow struggle against stuff like that, which makes absolutely no freaking sense, which if you're not careful will like just bear down on you and drag you down and crush you, because it's like, these are the things you wanted, you thought you did everything you could, which you did, but it just wasn't enough just because, like, it ain't all about working hard or working smart. Sometimes it's just dumb luck, and I think that's kind of another thing that makes it so infuriating dealing with the baby boomer parent, because they really do think it is all just hard work or smart work, and it's like, yeah, you should work hard, you should work smart, you shouldn't be lazy. I know, got it, but at the same time, like, don't come at me, you know, when things don't work out, even though I did everything right, you know. And pretend like I'm making your life a living hell. So anyways, what am I gonna do right now? I'm gonna go grab something to drink. I'm gonna get back to my room. I'm gonna eat, finish watching a video, but I'm also gonna have to get a lab report done and turned in, which I was late on largely because of that damn job that I had. Apply for EDDUI, get at least a couple more other assignments done so I can be like moderately caught up, and then hopefully tomorrow I can really turn things around for the class that I'm the most behind on, and get ready for my circuits midterm, which is going to be on Tuesday. And I'm also going to have like I think another makeup quiz or something like that. Then I gotta get things stabilized enough so I'll have the time to sit down and actually apply for grad school, because I want to apply for this spring and just get things going, because I've done enough work and I'm at a point where I can do that, and if I just can hold things together, I can get that taken care of. But anyways, enough of my ranting, my bitching, my moaning, my complaining. Thanks for watching and thanks for the support. Appreciate it. Hopefully see you folks around again later. Bye bye.